What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Talk a little Beckett. That's right. Industry Summit was this week, and Sports Collectors Daily had some quotes from BGS, and boy, are they interesting. Yeah, these Beckett quotes are crazy to me. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube stuff down below. So as we all know, Beckett, I've claimed this a ton. Beckett to me is the biggest mess out of all the grading companies. I don't think it's fairly close. They are so far behind on orders. They have lost market share to SGC and PSA. The gap, over the last year and a half, the gap between a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10 has widened. SGC 10s have passed up BGS 9.5s in regards to resale value. And I don't really know that many people that use them. And I always joke, when's the last time you saw a Beckett submission preview video or a Beckett reveal video? I know 502 Frank used to group sub with them all the time. And he posted not that long ago. He said, once I get this last order back, I'm done with them. I'm never using them again. And I think a lot of people feel that way. They've had the worst full stop period communication throughout this entire thing out of any of the companies. They had that snarky release prior to the National when they shut down grading services, kind of like PSA did, to try to get caught up. And it's just been a wild ride with them. Do I think they grade pretty good? Yes. Do I like their slabs? Yeah, they're good. They're fine. I could take or leave subgrades. I go both ways on that. I think they make pricing the cards more confusing than it needs to be. With the whole, if you've ever tried to comp a BGS card, it's such a pain in the butt. Is it a min gem? Is it a true gem? Is it a min gem plus? Is it a true gem plus? And then everyone wants to argue over $50 this way or that way because it's 0.5 one way or another way. And people just want 10s. They just want a 10. They want a PSA 10, an SGC 10, or whatever. They just want a 10. People don't want 9.5s. And I think that's been part of the reason that Beckett's lost some market share as well. But long story short, with that preamble, they had some very interesting quotes to come out of the Industry Summit, which for those not familiar with it, the Industry Summit is essentially a meeting of the minds in Las Vegas of all the shop owners, corporate people, backroom dealing, all the shenanigans, all the people that run these companies, the movers and the shakers in the hobby. Some content creators were there. Some people that run, hobby adjacent companies were there. Jeff Wilson was there. eBay was there. All those people were there. And there's a bunch of breakout sessions in media and all that stuff. So, but these Beckett quotes, all right, let's get to it. The first one. If no more cards came in today to be graded, we have enough grading work for the next year. That's a lot of cards. Well, we don't know if it's a lot of cards really, because I just don't understand what they've been doing and not getting caught up at all. We'll get to that in a second. But if no more cards came in to be graded, they have enough work to last an entire year. An entire year. That's a very long time. Especially not to be receiving any cards. Not that they're partially open. They make a couple comments here about graders are working 50 hours a week and they're working through weekends, which is, whatever, that's expected. It says here about shutting down services prior to the National to make up ground, and that they made up 2 or 3 months being shut down for a month. So that tells you how far behind they were prior to actually shutting down, which is even more scary. They go on to talk about their customer service and salespeople getting essentially the hell kicked out of them from the mob, from the people, wondering where the hell their cards are. The position that they put shop owners in, like people that do group submissions, essentially, that are wondering where the hell their cards are and taking it out on them. Beckett has tried to improve online communication so customers at least know where their cards in the grading process is. I haven't seen this. I don't have cards currently submitted with them, but everyone complains about Beckett's communication as absolutely god-awful. that you can't tell where your card's at or in the various stages of process. So, you know, they do mention here, and this is where it gets into the more interesting stuff. Our plan is to open at least one or more service levels in early October. Our next plan that we put on the plate is January 1. We'd like to have more options for people to submit stuff then. So, just so we're clear, they could not accept another card and they have a year's worth of work. And they currently have like their Super Express level open or whatever. However, they are going to begin to open up lower service levels in October. Interesting. The difference between this, because people are going to say, well, PSA has a year's worth of work in front of them too, and they probably do. The difference there is at least PSA's been upfront about like what they've been doing. Like, hey, we hired all these people. Hey, we expanded all these offices. Hey, this, that, and the other thing. And then you can look at like gem rates data and actually see how many cards they're grading each month and how it's gotten larger, like week over week, month over month, national and some other shenanigans in between where it dipped down. But in general, you can see that PSA is grading more cards more efficiently, whatever you want to say. Whereas Beckett, we don't have anything like that. The other thing that I forgot to mention back up here, listen to this quote. We're still 16 months behind on some of our slow orders, and that's not what we want. 16 months behind. And I'm not surprised by this. I talk about all the time. I like to follow the grading forum on Blowout. And they list all the different grading companies have turnaround time trackers and order trackers where people post like, hey, I got this order back at this time, yada, yada, yada. And the BGS one is just absolutely comical. If people are like, yeah, my June order from last year still isn't back yet. We're in September now. So I am not surprised by that 16-month statement. Here's the one. There is one quote over all of them that really blew my mind. Let me scroll down here. It's right at the end of the story. So this is from the writer. With the realization that the hobby's boom may not be slowing much, the goal is to scale the business to meet future demand and avoid the current problem from happening again. Okay, that's what the writer says. Here's the quote. This is insane to me. We want to get this fixed now so that in 2, 3, 5 years, we can have our turnaround times back down and everyone is getting their cards back as quickly as possible. That's what we're going to shoot for. Maybe I'm misreading that or misunderstanding that. So he's saying it's going to be 2 to 5 years before they're caught up. Is that how you guys and girls and reader that? Because that's how I read that. We want to get this fixed now so that in 2, 3, 5 years, we can have our turnaround times back down and everyone's getting their cards back as quickly as possible. That's what we're going to shoot for. So it's going to take them 2 to 5 years to get to that point? What? Are you kidding me right now? The thing that boggles me is I just don't see the cards going to them. You don't see how many LaMelo Ball silver prisms in a BGS slab do you see? You know what I mean? Like, how much of that stuff's floating around out there? I guess I could look. I could try to find it in Market Movers and see what like the sales history is. Or just do an eBay search for 2020 Prism basketball or something. All right, this is the most unscientific thing ever, but I just went to eBay and searched 2020 Select Football, since that's the one that would probably be in the most. 177 results. That's it. 200 cards. That's openly listed right now. Let me go to sold real quick here. Sold. 316. So like 500 cards of 2020 Select Football. Not saying that every card is posted on eBay, but you get my point. Is in a BGS slab. Okay? Let's look at SGC. I'm sorry, PSA. PSA, 1,100 results on for sale. Now, this is not scientific. This could be skewed a little bit. People put PSA ready in the tagline or whatever. Sold 1,500, so 2,500 cards, give or take. SGC, not surprised that this is the most, makes total sense. 2,000 cards listed for sale. And how many have sold? 2,700. So 4,700 cards have gone to SGC for Select Football. Once again, not very scientific at all, but it at least gives you an idea. It's not like people are pounding down the doors with new product, sending it to BGS. So how the hell have you not been able to catch up any ground? It's not like cards are flooding into you. Even when you were open, I can't imagine you were getting that many cards. I just don't understand what they've been doing. I really don't. They have the worst communication by far, the worst website by far, the worst submission process by far. And it seems like they're not gaining any ground. This is the most damning quote ever. We want to get this fixed now so that in 2, 3, 5 years, we can have turnaround times back down and everyone's getting their cards back as quickly as possible. That's what we're shooting for. 2 to 5 years to get caught up. I mean, I think like the worst doomsday people about PSA would say, oh yeah, sure, probably by the end of next year, they're going to clear their backlog out and it'll be a fully operational Death Star again. Beckett's saying 2 to 5 years, and there is no way they are getting the volume of cards and putting out the volume of cards that PSA has been. Now, they stayed open a little bit longer than PSA. They probably got hammered for that month that they were open when PSA was closed. That feels like a huge money grab at this point, that they stayed open as long as they did when they're 16 months behind. Whew. Whew. So, that's all I have for you guys and girls today. In my opinion, Beckett is the biggest loser over the last year and a half when it comes to the grading companies. By far. They've left the most opportunity on the table more so than anybody else. If they were set up to succeed when PSA was struggling, they could have really got some of that market share back and reestablished themselves. Maybe not necessarily as the go-to, but like the 1B to PSA's 1A. Now they're third, in my opinion. They are clearly behind SGC. I prefer, like, if I was going to send a card into grade right now, you're obviously not using them. If I was buying a card on the secondary market, I still prefer to buy a BGS slab over an SGC slab. That's just because I really like the BGS slab way better than the SGC slab. So all things being equal, I would look for a BGS slab to purchase. That's different than sending cards to them to grade. With their current pricing, there's absolutely no reason to send them a card because they're still $225, I think, to get a card back. $225, $250 to submit to BGS for their Super Express or whatever. Why wouldn't you just use PSA for $150 a card? There is zero reason to send BGS a card unless it's like an RPA thick style card. Those still do pretty well in BGS slabs. That's the only thing I would even remotely consider sending them. So curious for your thoughts down below on this. This to me was just very interesting. These quotes just like blew my mind. So yeah, like I said before, that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Curious to see what you all think in the comments down below regarding BGS. But to me, they've definitely left the most on the table throughout the hobby boom. They were the one company that figured out how to screw it up, in my opinion. So we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.